All right, column 20, chord scales and why they're so important. Chord scales are something that you ought to know, and believe it or not, you're probably already using them in the songs that you play. You're using bits and pieces of this information that I'm about to give you without even knowing you're doing it, probably, okay? One of the simplest ways to understand the concept of what is a chord scale is to think about the famous blues chord progression that we sometimes refer to as a 12-bar blues, or more accurately in this case, the other name that we often refer to that, the 1-4-5 chord progression, right? A 1 chord, a 4 chord, a 5 chord. Well, what does that mean, 1, 4, 5, okay? And also note that whenever you're talking about chord progressions in this way, we tend to use Roman numerals to refer to those numbers. You'd have I for the 1 chord, IV for the 4 chord, and V for the 5 chord, okay? Anyway, let's talk about that. What does that mean, 1, 4, 5? Okay? Where did the 4 and the 5 come from? What happened to 2 and 3? Okay? Is probably what you might be thinking. Let's come over here to a C chord progression. Okay? I'm going to play a C bar chord at the 8th fret, and I might play something like this and play your basic C chord, go over to an F chord, and later on the G chord, okay? I just played my 1 chord, my 4 chord, and my 5 chord in this key. In the key of C, C would be the 1 chord. F would be the 4 chord. G would be the 5 chord. Remember how we gave those scale patterns numbers? Well, those same numbers apply to these chords. The only difference is, as I said, we use Roman numerals when we're talking about chords. We just use normal numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to refer to our scale patterns and steps of the scale. Okay? But so you see that if we had a C scale, and I had given those notes in the scale numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm back to 1 again. Well, what if I built a chord on each one of those notes? Those are the chords that are most likely to be used in a song in that key. Okay? Chord scales, understanding chord scales can help you learn songs faster and understand them better. Okay? Because every song you've ever played follows some sort of a chord scale, whether it's a major or minor chord scale. Okay? Let's look at it this way. If I build a chord on top of that C note, I've got a C major chord, and that would be called number 1. I would then have a D minor chord. That would be my 2 chord. My 3 chord would be E minor. My 4 chord would be F major. The 5 chord would be G major. The 6 chord would be A minor. The 7 chord would be a funky little thing called a minor 7 flat 5 on B, and then I would be back to C again. I just played a scale, but I played it using chords. Some of the chords end up being major, some of them end up being minor. Okay? When you learn a song, you notice, hey, there's a couple majors, there's a couple minors. Well, they generally follow this pattern. Okay? The easy way to think of it is, in a major key, the 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. The 2, 3, and 6 chords are minor chords. The 7 chord is that weird little thing. You don't generally play 7 chords that often. The 7th scale step, okay? In the key of C, you're not as likely to have a B chord of any kind. The easy way to think of it is, if you do have one, you might just want to think of it as just a minor chord. That's close enough for most purposes, okay? So, if you understand that we can build a chord on each step of the scale, why did some of them come out to be major and some of them to come out to be minor? The reason is, when you build a chord scale, when you build a chord on each of the scale steps, you only use the notes that come from that scale. Now, I don't want to go too deep into that here. I think I explain it a little bit deeper in the book. But basically, if you only use the notes in the C major scale, your D chord is going to come out minor. Your E chord is going to come out minor. Your F and G chords are going to come out major. Your A chord is going to come out minor. Okay? Understanding this concept, again, will help you to learn songs faster. Because when you listen to a song, when you learn a song, when you look in a chord book, in a song book, and you see that the first chord in the song is C, you can almost automatically